So, if you're joining us today, chances are you're looking for trusted strategic guidance on how to navigate an increasingly volatile financial landscape and to prepare for and enjoy your retirement. And you are definitely in the right place. Our presenter this afternoon is someone who spent more than 35 years helping families protect and grow their wealth with smart, tax savvy planning. James Lange is a CPA attorney and a nationally recognized expert on Roth IRA conversions, retirement plan distributions, and holistic tax and estate planning strategies. Prolific writer, Jim's retirement planning techniques have been featured in the Wall Street Journal 36 times, and he's authored 10 best-selling books, including Retire Secure, The Roth Revolution, and Retire Secure for Professors and TIAA participants. The foreword for which was written by the special guest in our prior session, Burton Malkiel. What truly sets Jim apart is his ability to take complex tax law and turn it into clear, actionable strategies. He's been ahead of the curve for decades, from publishing the first peer-reviewed article on Roth IRAs in 1998 to predicting the end of the stretch IRA years before Congress passed the Secure Act. Through his interrelated firms, a CPA firm that prepares 750 tax returns annually, and a registered investment advisory firm that helps manage and plan for nearly $1 billion in assets under management. Jim and our team have helped hundreds of families build strategic financial master plans. And this afternoon session is packed with great information and exclusive footage from Jim's live interview with Bill Bengen himself. So let's get right into it. Please join me in welcoming Jim Lange.
Thank you, Erica. So one of the most important questions that people in retirement have is how much can I afford to spend? So I hope that many of you were here to hear Burton Malkiel, who I just feel uplifted, and he has a great take on some of the things that are going on today that might be summarized in his words, "This too shall pass," when he was talking about some of the bad things that have happened before. So I want to, with which was a perfect, let's say, introduction to the issue. Okay, we're not and most times people think this time is completely different than any other time. And we've thought that so many times, let's say even for the last 100 years. And what has traditionally worked is the classic advice. The classic advice of the masters. We heard from Burton Malkiel, who was saying he was talking about passive or index type investments and to hold the course and to don't go sell because you think terrible things are going to happen. And he made a convincing argument that even if terrible things do happen, for example, massive inflation, what do you want to be? Where do you want to be if there's massive inflation? Well, you want to be in stocks. So I want to take, with that as a background, and go into another, let's say, and Bert is probably one of the most prolific. He sold between 1.5 and 2 million books. He was one of the most influential people in the world for talking about efficient markets and passive income tax or passive investments. But another classic author who literally changed the way people live is Bill Bengen. And he wrote a book updating his classic 4% safe withdrawal rate. And I'd like to feature that, but I would also like to feature some of the details and some of the very interesting things that go way beyond that. So let's assume that you are going to, let's say, stay in the market, because most of the information that I'm going to be providing is not really so relevant if you have, for example, less than 55% of your portfolio in the market. In fact, that is one of his assumptions for his new book and his new safe withdrawal rate. But let's assume that, and let's get to the issue of how much you can afford to spend, what is the support for that number, and how does that relate to your entire retirement. And sometimes we'll, let's say, abbreviate it with SWR, safe withdrawal rate. And let's talk a little bit about what I hope to present in the next, say, hour and a half. So it is going to be Bill Bengen's updated analysis regarding the safe withdrawal rate. The other thing that to me, very few people talked about, but to me, I think is critical, is he has different safe withdrawal rates for different time periods. In other words, his classic rate assumed a 30-year retirement. Well, some people don't have 30 years left. Other people have more than 30 years left where they're not going to work. So the time horizon is critical, and nothing in the literature anywhere near the scope that Bill Bengen and the popularity of Bill Bengen has written about this. So I think we're really in for a treat when I present this information from Bill Bengen. And then the other thing that I'm going to get into is, okay, safe withdrawal rate, we're talking about withdrawing a percentage of your portfolio. Well, that isn't your total spending. Obviously, you have other income, Social Security, you might have a pension, you might have equity in your house, you can increase the amount of money you spend if you are being tax efficient. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today in this session. And then we're going to really talk about that at our next session on Roth IRA conversions. But anyway, I will throw in some of those other things and also the concept of annuitizing. But okay, so what is the safe withdrawal rate? And the definition is how much money you can withdraw from your portfolio measured as a percentage of your portfolio without running out of money. And how it works, and I'll get to the changes where the change went from 4% to 4.7% later. But right now, let's just talk about how it works, because a lot of people don't understand this. So let's just keep a easy number, $1 million. And before it was 4%. Now Bill Bengen is giving us a 17.5% raise. So it's now 4.7%. So the first year you can withdraw $47,000 from your portfolio. Now you are going to have to pay taxes on that. So that doesn't mean you can spend $47,000. It means you could spend $47,000 minus the taxes. All right. And I think a lot of people have some idea of that. But what about year two? Well, here's what is interesting. You adjust for inflation, but you don't adjust for what the market did. So let's say the market went up 20%. Does that give you a 20% bump in the amount of money that you can withdraw? No. What if it goes down 20%? Does that cut your withdrawal by 20%? No. It's the same withdrawal rate plus inflation. So it will be $47,000, depending on what the inflation is. Maybe, it goes up to maybe 48.5 or something like that. And then if we're going to take the method that Bill developed, which has stood the test of time, and no method is more popular, you keep doing that without looking at the fluctuations. Now, even Bill says you don't want to be 100% rigid, but that is the basic idea, is that starting the year of retirement, you're going to take out, and we're going to talk about time horizons, but for the moment, let's assume 30 years, 4.7%. Then the next year, 4.7% plus 1 year of inflation. The year three would be $47,000 plus 2 years of inflation, et cetera, et cetera. And you keep doing that presumably for 30 years. Now, even Bill says, hey, I'm not going to completely ignore changes in the market, but just to understand the basic premise of the safe withdrawal rate. And many people really don't get this right. They say, oh, it went up 4 points, 20%. Now I can take out much more. Or, oh, it went way down. Oh, I have to take out much less. So they don't get this right and they misapply the safe withdrawal concept, or they even ignore it completely, and they don't get to spend as much money as they could afford, or alternatively, and hopefully this isn't the case, they're spending more money than they could afford. Uh, but these are very common mistakes. And when I interviewed Bill, and I was fortunate enough that he agreed to actually be interviewed live. If you were in Pittsburgh, some of you might have seen him in Pittsburgh. Um, Bill discusses the biggest mistake he sees and what he personally does to create income in retirement. So I thought I would share that clip with you, and then I will be back at the end of this clip. So here we go. Hopefully somebody can start it.
Let me ask you another question. What are some of the common mistakes
Can you raise the volume?
that you see people make when applying the safe withdrawal? Another question. What are some of the common mistakes?
We seem to be having technical difficulties. How about
that
if
you
we
see people make when applying the safe withdrawal concept?
Yeah, I think the first one is they hear the number 4% and they think that means 4% of your portfolio balance each year. It doesn't, as we explained earlier, it's 4% the first year. Then throw the 4% away and just give yourself a costing of living increase, as with Social Security. That's probably the greatest source of misconception.
All right, so I'm going to restate what I think is your answer, because I think it is so important. So basically, let's just say for discussion's sake, you retire at $1 million, 30 years, 4.7, $47,000 less the taxes. Let's say that the market does very well, and that a year later, the market did, let's just say 10%, and now you're at 1.1 million. You're still doing the 4.7% of the million, not of the 1.1 million. Is that right?
Yeah, you're not changing because each successive year, it does involve the portfolio value. The second year on just means adding a dollar amount to the withdrawal. So you're not changing anything about the original assumptions.
All right, so let's go the other way. Let's say that we have a loss. So this is going to be the tougher question. And let's make it even worse. Let's assume you start at $1 million, you take out 4.7, and then whether it's COVID or whatever it is, you have a drop of 20%. Okay? So now instead of having $1 million, you're at 800,000. Are you saying you can still take out 4% of the million plus inflation?
Yeah, that's correct. The calculations they do include the possibility of significant bear markets in retirement, which can reduce withdrawal rates. So there's no need to take action because the stock market usually recovers strongly, and you'll return to plan.
All right. Does everybody in the room understand this? Because I think he has pointed out the exact mistake that so many people make. Do you get that? If the market goes down, you can still take out your 4.7 plus inflation. Well, so let me ask you this. Let's say that you were retiring today, and let's say that you had a $1 million portfolio. Would you actually do what you are recommending, or would you be more conservative or more aggressive? So what would you be doing if you were a retiree? And again, we'll use your 5-year buffer, thinking a 25-year portfolio, adding 5 years on, coming up with 4.7. Is that what you would do, or would you do something different?
Yeah, I would, if I was retiring today, I would be probably looking at something closer to 5.5%. Because I don't think we face the dire circumstances that the 1968 retiree fixed. And to that extent, I do eat my own cookie. When I retired 12 years ago, my number was 4.5%, not 4.7, and that's what I started with. And of course, the stock market done so well since then, I was actually able to increase my withdrawals.
Oh, wait, that sounds like you're not doing what you said you were going to do. Because you just said you were going to increase your withdrawals if the market
Right.
went up.
Well, if it goes up consistently, this is the experience that people in the early 1980s had. They came into a market which was very cheap and had certain withdrawal rates, but because of the huge bull market, the 18 years that followed that nobody expected, they were able to increase their withdrawal rate significantly later in life. Uh, so it's not completely independent of what the stock market does, but if the stock market looks like it's done very well, much better than expected for a much longer period of time than expected, you probably are right considering an increase in withdrawal rates.
One of the things that I want to do is I tried to cover what I thought was important. And by the way, you did a great job because I went way off script a number of times. I should say I don't like to zing people, so I sent Bill a set of questions, say, hey, is it okay? But as he gave answers, I changed the script quite a bit. Is there something that I didn't say or didn't ask that you want to tell this group of very interested listeners?
I think my primary message there would be to regard planning for retirement income as basically a process involving a number of steps. You can't skip steps. For example, in my book, I begin with what I call the 8 elements, which you can use to customize your plan. That includes asset allocation, the length of your withdrawals, the type of account. And then to get to your number, which is the last part of the puzzle, you have to take inflation, stock market valuation into account as they are when you retire. And those factors together determine what your withdrawal rate will be.
All right, well, this has been wonderful. Let me ask you another question. What are some of the
Okay, so there's Bill saying, yes, this is the rule, this is the way to do it, but I sometimes cheat a little bit. Now, he just used the example of bumping up the 4 or 4.7. He didn't say to take out less if it goes down, but I think that I think basically he's saying, hey, we have some guidelines, but we're in the real world. And by the way, he referred to 1968, and that is the basis of his analysis. And 1968 was the worst year to retire in recorded US history. You had a combination of a big market drop, and then you also had big inflation in the early 70s. So all this is really based on, let's call it the worst case scenario. And what he did is he created a conservative baseline for 30-year retirements built on real data. And that to me is really critical, that it's built on real data, because before he came around, people were using averages and there were hunches. And what he said, his 4%, now 4.7%, is, I won't say universally accepted, and there are certainly other safe withdrawal methods, but his is by far the most popular. So earlier, so you might say, well, gee, Jim, what is the biggest difference between the 4%, which he came out with? I should remember this, but I think it was in 94 or 92, somewhere around there. But anyway, what changed from then till now? Is the market just completely different? And what really changed, and the biggest factor in going from 4% to 4.7%, is he changed the assumptions. So the old assumptions that Bill did in his original research is he assumed a portfolio 50% US stock and 50% US bonds. Well, today that's not the way very many people invest. They have a much better portfolio, a much more diversified portfolio. We heard from Bert saying, yes, you should have a well-diversified portfolio of all sectors, including international. So if you do that, and in Bill's case, if you go to his assumptions, which we will let's say allude to or show, and then we have other possibilities of getting the very detailed information. He's assuming a 55% stock portfolio, and even that is well diversified within a series of different asset classes. So that's the biggest way he went from 4% to 4.7%. And then you might say, hey, Jim, you said that we get a 17.5% raise. Gee, the difference between 4% and 4.7%, that's not 17.5%, that's just 0.7%. Well, it really isn't. So here's how I get that. How do we get from 4 to 4.7? Why do we call that a 17% raise? All right, again, I'm going to start with $1 million to make the math easy. So the original amount was 40,000. Now we're going up to 47,000, going from 4% to 4.7%. Well, so what is the raise? Well, the raise is $7,000. What is the base? The base isn't the million. The base is what you were allowed, or what fell within the safe withdrawal rate to spend of 40. So if you take 7,000 and you divide it by 40,000, you get a 17.5% raise. That is huge, particularly for retirees who, at least the vast majority of whom I work with, are very conservative in their spending. So many of them weren't even spending the 4%. And now we're going up to 4.7, which is in effect a 17.5% raise. The other thing that I think is really important, and to me, in a way, this might even be more important than going from 4 to 4.7, is that Bill assumed a 30-year investment time horizon. All right, that's not what everybody has. Some of us aren't going to live 30 years. Some of us are going to live more than 30 years. Some of us don't know how long we're going to live, but we even have an answer for taking your best shot at that. But the point is that for different time horizons, Bill actually has a chart that he's going to show us what the safe withdrawal rate is for different time horizons. So he actually does a chart where the shortest that he covers is 3 years, and the longest is 50 years, but he even has some additional information if you have a longer than 50-year time horizon, which would be the case if you are providing for a dependent child, or in my case, a child with a disability. And again, he's basing all this on people who retired on October 1, 1968, which was the worst retirement start date recorded in US history. So first we're going to say, okay, what is your investment time horizon? All right, let's take a few minutes on this because this is a critical concept. So, some people say, well, gee, 70 years old, and my parents lived until they were 80. So I'm going to say a 10-year time horizon, right? Well, no. First thing we have to ask is, are you married? And is the plan to provide for you and your spouse? Oh, yeah, I am married. And gee, my spouse is younger than I am. And since she is a woman, she has a 15-year life expectancy. So let's even say that based on, let's say your genetics and age and the way you feel, et cetera, that you think you have a 10-year, your spouse has a 15-year. So then you would use 15 years, right? Well, I want to be even more conservative than that because maybe your spouse survives longer than she thinks she will. Maybe she'll survive 20 years. So, depending on how conservative you want to be, and to me, I want to side on being conservative. So, in practice, I ask people how long they're going to live. I always add maybe at least 5 years, maybe even 10. But let's just say, and a lot of times so they'll say, well, maybe I'll live to 95. And I said, let's add to 5 more years on top of that. And they're like, oh, no, 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 I'm not. I was pushing it to 95. But anyway, let's just say 5 more years for discussion's sake. So then, so again, let's use the example where, and this is how this chart works, where you use your time horizon, which is the joint life expectancy of you and your spouse, and a buffer. Then you find your corresponding percentage on the chart. You multiply that percentage by your portfolio, and that is how much you could spend the first year, which is the critical year. So what I have here, and I'm going to ask Eric to expand this to make it easier for everybody to see. And I guess I can't really get feedback on if you can see this, but this is a chart in Bill Bengen's book. It's on page 81. And if you look at the chart, it will show the number of years on the left, and then corresponding to that will be the safe withdrawal rate. So let's say for discussion's sake that your investment horizon is 3 years. Well, then you could take out 30%. And even if the market goes way down, worse than it ever has, you're still not going to run out of money. All right. And then let's say you're somewhere, you say, oh, okay, gee, my spouse and I have a 20-year life expectancy. All right, but we're going to do a 5-year buffer. So somebody with a 20-year life expectancy and a 5-year buffer, we're at 25. Can everybody see where you go to 25 and then you go across and you see 4.962, or let's round off and call it 5%. Well, boy, that's more than you were likely spending right now. So depending on your life expectancy and a safe buffer, you can now determine a very conservative amount that you can spend. But before we leave this slide, I also want to talk about something that I think is one of the most profound things in the slide. So you can see if you are starting with a 3-year life expectancy, that you could take out a lot. And then there's a very, very steep slope, meaning you can take out less and less. So you're going from 30% with a 3-year life expectancy to essentially a 9% for a 10-year life expectancy. Then the change starts slowing down significantly. So then you're at a 5.464% for a 20-year. Then it continues to slow down. And then for a 30-year, you're down to 4.676, or rounded off 4.7. But here's what I found even more profound. If you continue, let's say you go to a 50-year life expectancy, which would most likely mean that you are trying to provide for a dependent child. It's only or let's say you're a very young retiree, or maybe you believe in longevity or whatever the thing is, you're at 4.165%. That's even more than the old rate for 30 years. And then Bill has some information in his book that says if you go even beyond 50 years, it's still not far from 4.1%. And to me, this is really important, and particularly if you are trying to provide for a child, who is dependent, or maybe you just want to keep the money in the family for a long time, or maybe you, like me, have a child with a disability who doesn't have anything, and the nature of her disability, other than the fact that she doesn't exercise very much, probably doesn't have a lot to do with life expectancy. So this chart, and to me, there was no coverage of this in the press. Nobody made a big deal out of it, but I'm making a big deal out of it because I think that it is so much more accurate than anything that we have seen in the past. You can get a good idea of how much money you can safely withdraw. It's very conservative. This is assuming the worst time in US history to retire. As a practical matter, the great odds are that you would be able to spend a lot more. Or if you're like Bill, you can, let's say, even bump it up a little bit on the theory that we've had this good market. But I don't want to do that. I want to be conservative, and all the CPAs in my office they are conservative. But I actually think that this is a profound change, and one of the most important things that we have seen in financial literature. And I was kind of shocked. In fact, when Bill came out with the book, I devoured it within days, and I had interviewed him way back, and he remembered me, and he fortunately granted me an interview. He's uh, um, and I was like, oh, we better hurry up, and we better do an interview with Bill, because the Wall Street Journal is going to write about this, and the New York Times are going to write about this, and the Barron's is going to write about this, and I want to be the first. So we hurried up and we organized this interview with Bill, and I wrote all about it in my newsletters and everything else. And then we haven't seen the kind of reaction that I would have expected. And I think that this is critical information. So we actually already did the example, so we don't have to do it again. But one thing that we should mention is that, Bill's strategy builds in margin for safety. He is not being 100% strict, even with his own formula. Um, and he is focusing on peace of mind, because realistically, that's what particularly well, that is what most people's financial fear is running out of money. Um, they might express it in different ways. They might say, I never want to be dependent on my children. Um, but I think that that is the great fear of running out of money. And for whatever it's worth, one of my fears for my clients and the people I tend to work with is not, I don't fear they're going to run out of money. I fear that they're going to spend too conservatively and not have the kind of lifestyle that they could afford, and could not do or don't do some of the experiences that I think would enhance the quality of their lives and the lives of their children. Now, to be fair, I have to say there is no system that is immune to risk. There's plenty of safe withdrawal systems out there. Bill even acknowledges some in his book. There could be a historically unprecedented sequence of poor returns that could disrupt even the most robust model. We just heard from Burton Malkiel, who was saying, don't necessarily, he doesn't see anything, and he's the first guy to acknowledge all the things that he says that is going on right now that he hates. By the way, this is a conservative, lifelong Republican, and he's saying tariffs are a bad idea. Not having an independent judiciary, not having an independent federal board looking over the interest rate, the Federal Reserve Board, all these things, he doesn't think that these are historically unprecedented. He's seen greater changes in his lifetime. But to be fair, maybe we are going to, it's not 100% certain. There is no system that is 100% certain. And again, Bill acknowledges there are other systems. Even in our office, we use Bill's method, and we're going to hear a little bit, although she's probably going to not necessarily talk about safe withdrawal rate. But I know Jen uses a system that is more conservative, and she presents both. I actually think they're both very conservative, but I did want to mention that. And I should say that Bill's system is better known than any other system in the world, and it has survived for over 30 years. And more advisors are using the 4%. And by the way, I looking at the current literature, they're still talking about 4% because they didn't read Bill's book. Either that or they didn't believe it. But I think that this is critical information, and I hope everybody got that. So before we go into a next topic, are there any questions about what we have talked about so far?
I think yes. By the way, I would like to encourage people who have questions that they have not added to the chat. Please go ahead and add those questions to the Q&A section. But we have two questions that I think are on the same topic, Jim. Michelle and Harry are both asking what the inflation factor is for the annual inflation increase for your safe withdrawal rate and how that's calculated.
Well, there is no one inflation rate. I should know this off the top of my head, but I mean, there's several measures of inflation that the government publishes every year, and and that is the inflation rate that Bill is assuming. In other words, he's not assuming 3% or 5% or 2% or 6%. He is assuming whatever the government's rate is. And you could get into a controversy about, well, the inflation rate is good for certain things and not good for others. And I don't think he goes into that level of detail. I believe, or it would not be unreasonable to think that it's the same inflation rate that is used for the Social Security raises. But don't quote me on that. It's probably in his book. But
Yes,
this we can tell you for certain. He's not using an average inflation rate or any one particular inflation rate. It's changing every year. And he is letting a government agency say what that rate is.
much the same way that COLAs work, right?
Yeah, that's right. So,
And then the next set of questions actually are also on a similar boat. I'm going to merge them. People are asking about the way that safe withdrawal rate corresponds to RMDs. So one attendee asked, given the large RMDs required at older ages, how do you account for such small safe withdrawal rate? For example, if my RMD is 6% and I'm only getting higher every year, does that assume that I'm going to take part of that RMD back and put it into a taxable account, like reinvest it?
well, first of all, understand that the required minimum distribution is a tax calculation. It's not a safe withdrawal calculation. So let's go back to our $1 million example. And so if you look in the early years of your minimum required distribution, the minimum required distribution factor is going to be somewhere around 4%. And by the way, what has happened historically is the market has done a lot better than 4%. So people in the early part of their retirement are actually seeing growth in their IRA when they always expected that their IRA would go down and down and down. But I think what the person who asked the question says is, hey, now I'm getting older. I don't have a 4% safe withdrawal rate anymore. Mine is much higher. In fact, it's higher than the inflation rate. And it's also true that your life expectancy is going down. And some people have written an argument that the safe withdrawal rate is not all that far than the minimum required distribution rate. I, by the way, don't believe that. And the other thing is how much money you spend is different than how much money that comes out of your IRA. So in the early years, you might have a safe withdrawal rate that is higher than your minimum required distribution. And remember we are talking about after-tax dollars. So if your safe withdrawal, let's forget all other forms of income. If your safe withdrawal rate is $47,000, that doesn't mean you could take $47,000 and spend it. If it's all coming from an IRA, it's all going to be taxable. So you're going to have to pay a certain amount of tax. And then with what, let's just use 7,000 to make the math easy, then you can spend $40,000. Now, so if it's coming from a minimum required distribution, then presumably it is all taxable. On the other hand, there's going to be other areas in your portfolio, for example, a Roth IRA that is going to, you're not going to withdraw from that, but it will hopefully in a good year, like we've had, I think, basically 18 years of, well, up and down, but overall very good returns. So there you're not taking out anything. So I won't say that they're horribly far apart, but they are two different systems, and you can't assume the safe withdrawal rate is this going to be the same as the minimum required distribution, because they are two different animals. By a coincidence, or maybe not a coincidence, there aren't huge differences between them, but you can't just replace one with the other.
Jim, would you like to take one last
Why
question
don't we
before we
take
move on?
why don't we take one more?
Great. This next question comes from James, and he's asking, he says, this rule expects even spend for our entire retirement. We're in year one and realizing that our spend is varied. We're doing Roth conversions, so there's also a lot of taxes. I purchased a new vehicle this year, etc. How are those expenditures to be like thought through as it relates to the 4.7, like a steady rate?
All right, well, I'll take that as two different questions because that's what I think they are. First, I don't think that making a Roth IRA conversion is a form of spending. I think doing a Roth IRA conversion is a form of taking money from your right pocket and transferring it to your left pocket. Because ultimately, as we're going to see in the Roth IRA conversion workshop that is coming up, you have the same purchasing power before a Roth IRA conversion and after a Roth IRA conversion. So I don't consider that a form of spending. It's not like you're going out to dinner. It's not like, you are going on a trip around the world. Going on a trip around the world is probably a good example of spending because it is something that you don't have anything you don't have anything except, by the way, the experiences. And between a trip around the world and a new car, I'd probably take the trip around the world. Well, maybe I can get 2 or 3 trips around the world, but a, a trip a trip around the world is something that I would consider spending. A car, I don't look at that as spending. Maybe this is the old CPA in me, because unless you buy a car every year, what you're really doing is you're making a capital expense that could, and let's say for discussion's sake, you replace a car every 5 years, or if you're like me, you tend to replace cars every 10 years. So, and let's say to make the math easy, you're spending $50,000 on a car, and let's just say that you do tend to replace cars every 10 years. So to me, even though it might be 50,000 out of pocket, or maybe you're borrowing, it's closer. I would look at that as closer to a $5,000 expenditure. And the reason for that is because you're not going to be spending money on a car, for the next 9 years after that. So the way you adjust that is you say, okay, well, I'm maybe taking a bigger hit this year, but since I'll have benefits for future years, I'm not going to penalize myself and uh, only spend what is net of after I buy the car. Okay? All right.
Sorry, Jim, are you going to move on to the next part of the presentation?
I am going to move on. And I'll just do a very, very short message, which is at the end of this workshop, as you might expect, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can work with our firm, which I will look you in the digital eye and I genuinely believe that we are the best deal there is, both in quality and in price, although maybe there's some lower, but we have what I think is a wonderful assets under management model where you get the benefit of our firm doing Roth conversions, looking at the estate plan, looking at safe withdrawal rates, looking at a lot of things that don't really fall specifically under the, let's call it management title. And you get a great management team using basically low-cost index funds or enhanced index funds that that Burton Malkia was just talking about. And if you've heard enough already, hey, yeah, Jim, I definitely want to talk with you and your guys. You can in effect step in front of the line, and we do take that into consideration to request a retire secure consultation. If you put your information in, you will be contacted by Justin, who will, let's say, help with the logistics and work out dates, et cetera, et cetera. And I should also mention that I am only going to speak with folks who I think I can help in a big way. We are at the age and stage in our business. In fact, we're close to capacity now. We're not looking for business where we can't help people, and we're in the fortunate position that we don't have to take anybody that comes along. So if we don't think we can help you and provide much more value than you would be paying us and the money manager, we're not going to be interested in doing business. And likewise, if you're a royal pain in the you know what, to be honest, we don't need it. So if you had, one advisor 4 years ago, then you switched 2 years ago, and you switched another, and then you gave the attorney grief, and then you gave the CPA grief, do us all a favor. Don't even, don't even start with us. It would be appreciated. We want to work with people who recognize the value that we provide and are anxious to work with us, and we are anxious to work with them. We have I think the last time we looked, it was like a 97% retainage rate. We tend to do really well with the clients that we have, and that is our goal, to get great clients and keep them for many, many years. And if you are interested, and I'll do a little bit of a longer description at the end, you can step in front of the line. Okay, and by the way, I'm used to, well, now I'm doing more webinars, but in the old days, we used to take breaks in person. On webinars, that doesn't seem to go as well. So I guess you can go to the bathroom or do whatever you need to do whenever you want, but we're not going to have a formal break. And so I said that we were on the last on the last session, and then I was corrected by my team. All right, so I want to talk now about some of the things that go beyond the safe withdrawal rate for your portfolio. Because the safe withdrawal rate, while measured as a percentage of your portfolio, is important, but it's really only one piece of the retirement income puzzle. So one thing, for example, is most of the retirees, depending on when you retire, some it is a substantial portion of their income, others it is, nice to have, but not a substantial part of your income, is Social Security. So one of the things I want to do, and I'm not going to do, and by the way, I've done many, many 2-hour sessions just on Social Security, and I'm going to reduce that down to maybe 2 or 3 minutes, maybe a few more. So I'm just going to talk about Social Security for a little bit. And by the way, I ran into 2 people recently where I hope, and I knew them socially, not professionally, where I hope that I have changed their lives. One was a woman who she told me she was going to retire at 67. And I think she was about 66. So I knew that retirement was imminent. And I said, well, certainly you're not going to take Social Security when you retire, are you? And she said, oh, of course I was. That's what I was going to use for my spending. And she was married, and she happened to be the primary wage earner, and she had the highest record for Social Security. And I said, oh no, you want to wait till 70. And then she argued with me a little bit, and I proved to her what how valuable it was for her to wait until 70. And then the other one that was even more fun, I ran into a friend who I hadn't seen for a while, and it was great catching up with him. And he introduced his partner, which I didn't even know he had a partner. And they had been together for years, and I clearly got the impression that they were going to stay together. And they were not married. And one of them had a very large Social Security benefit, and the other one had a very small one. And I said, if you guys get married and the person with the high Social Security benefit dies first, the survivor will get the benefit of the high Social Security. So let's just say, for discussion's sake, that they were both 70 years old, and the person with the high benefit, let's just say $45,000, dies first, and the person with the low benefit, let's say, had a $20,000 benefit. Then if they get married, the person with the low benefit, the survivor, instead of getting $20,000 for the rest of their life, they will get $45,000 for the rest of their life, showing the value of, if you are a couple, the value of getting married, and then also, and I'm going to tie this in, the value of waiting until you are 70 if you are the higher earning. We'll also talk a little bit about pension, rental, part-time work, or other income. But let's talk about and then there's also we're going to talk a little bit about home equity, because that is another method of getting to spend more money without running out of money. We're going to talk about immediate annuities or annuitization. And we're also going to talk about tax efficiency in terms of withdrawal sequencing and what dollars you spend first, Roth conversions, and we're not going to really spend a lot of time on it, but getting your estate plan right is actually critical because it will enable you and your spouse to be able to spend more money. But let's get into some of the details for Social Security. And right now you should be seeing a chart. And in the red rated line, that shows if you take Social Security at 62, but instead of spending it, you reinvest it. And I'm going to assume a 4% investment rate. The reason I'm being so conservative is because Social Security is a certainty, although I know some people are worried about it. I would be much more worried if I were younger than if I was in the range of taking it right now. But what that shows is, okay, I'm getting my Social Security, I'm reinvesting that at 4%. And then the red rated line shows the trajectory of where you will be. All right. Now let's take somebody with the identical earnings record. All right. So, they work just as long, with the same amount, but instead of starting at age 62, and they're not working any longer, they're just holding off. Just like I wanted that woman who was 67, I wanted her to hold off on taking her Social Security. And she said, well, how can I live? And I said, well, spend money from your portfolio. So let's say that she does that, or you do that, and you wait until 70. And then, and by the way, I'm going to oversimplify the math a little bit. This isn't exactly right, but to oversimplify, you get roughly an 8% raise for every year that you wait. All right. So if you make it using these assumptions until age 82, that is your break-even period. All right. Then, if you survive past age 82, then you'll see the green line getting higher and higher. And yes, of course, the person who took Social Security at 62, yes, they're accumulating money too, but not nearly as fast. And it's hard to tell by looking at this line, but there can be a couple $100,000 difference just in the issue of when you take Social Security. But then, so I had a radio show, and I used to try to get the top guys. I got Jack Bogle, and I got all the Roth experts, and I also got some of the top Social Security experts. And one is an economist named Larry Kotlikoff. And I said, well, gee, Larry, but let's say that you and your spouse die young, and you both, let's say die when you're 78. Then, even according to this chart, you're going to be worse off. And, the chart is saying, hey, you have to wait until age 82 to break even. And Larry said something that really was profound and makes a lot of sense. He said, dead people don't have financial problems. You shouldn't be afraid of dying early and having financial problems. What the fear, if any, is outliving your money. There is no better investment that I know of than holding off on taking Social Security. There is no insurance product. There is no annuity. There is nothing that is even close to guaranteed that will give you the same return as holding off on your Social Security until until age 70. And what his point was is, don't think like an actuary, think like an economist. What you worry about is outliving your money, so you make a decision based on what you are worried about. So you hold off. Then let's talk about the death benefit for a minute. And there's a living benefit, but let's forget about the living benefit for a minute. So you have two spouses, one's at 2,000, one's at 1,200, and then one of them dies, and frankly, it doesn't matter which one. The survivor will get the higher of the two. I actually wrote a book for gay couples before they could get married in any state, and there were enormous financial benefits to being married, a few disadvantages, but often significant advantages of inheritance, taxes, minimum required distributions of IRAs, taxable inheritance tax, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the big things was Social Security. So my strategy was, let's say for somebody in Pennsylvania, go run to New York, get married there where gay couples could get married, and then come back to Pennsylvania, live your life as a married couple, and then enjoy the tax benefits and the Social Security benefits of being married. Well, anyway, that's kind of a moot point. And then I had a whole book on the advantages and disadvantages of being married. And then, by the way, that has been, let's say, condensed into one chapter of the book that I wrote, Retire Secure, for professors and TIA participants, which, by the way, 90% of that is for everybody. But anyway, there's one chapter, and with a little bit of sarcasm, I said, get married for the money, where I kind of summarize that. So, and then in the last workshop that we did, it was live, and I ran into some people who I had counseled to get married, and they did, and they are much, much better off because of it. And then after one of them dies, they could be hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million better off. So I don't mean to go too far astray. I'm just saying that the safe withdrawal rate measured as a percentage of your portfolio, while it's very important, it's not the only thing that you can do to get more money to spend during your retirement. Social Security strategy is one. Now, we're going to have a whole session on Roth IRA conversions, so I don't want to repeat this. But what I will say is that there is a synergy between holding off on your Social Security and doing a series of Roth IRA conversions. Because if you take Social Security early, that extra income from your Social Security will reduce the amount of Roth IRA conversions that you can make at some of the lower tax rates. So the difference between waiting till 70 and doing a series on Social Security and doing a series of Roth IRA conversions versus not waiting till 70, taking your Social Security at 62 and not Roth conversions is enormous. And again, I maintain these are not independent decisions, but that there is a synergy of doing them both right. And that is shown in the chart that you should be seeing, the green being where you are if you do both a series of Roth IRA conversions and hold off on Social Security, and the red being where you are if you take Social Security early and you don't do a series of conversions. And as you would expect, you're a little bit better off in the early years because you're taking the Social Security. Then you have the break even, which is maybe somewhere around age 70. But then the person with the Roth measured in purchasing power just goes higher and higher and higher, while the person who didn't do Roth and took Social Security, given certain spending levels, is ultimately going to run out of money. So that's a really important thing that should be considered when you are considering how much money you can safely spend. Why don't I take any questions on that one, because the next one is a completely different subject. So any other questions on any questions on Social Security, or maybe something that I didn't do before?
Let me take a look at the questions that we have here in the chat. There are some questions about Social Security. There are still people asking about how the inflation rate applies. I think maybe that's something that we can circle back to later.
Well, I don't know anything other than what I said before, so
Yeah.
let's not circle back
Okay.
and say, gee, I don't know anything more than I said before.
No, I think Jen might have some insight for us on that, actually. William said, some people say there are 3 phases of retirement over a 30-year period. How do you adjust for lifestyle changes over this period? When you're healthier, you're younger, you may want to spend more. So this is more to the question of, if you have this flat rate, then how do you account for maybe wanting to spend more because you're traveling in the earlier years of your retirement?
Well, it's a great question. And for whatever it's worth, I asked that question of Bill Bengen 30 years ago when I interviewed him. And this is what Bill said. He said, I get it. You're younger, you're healthy, you can travel. Can you spend more money now and less money later, on the theory that later you're not going to be able to travel, you're not going to be able to have these experiences, and you want to do that while you're young? And Bill said, no, no, no. You have to take into account the additional medical expenses that you're likely to have later in life. So for a long time, if anybody asked me, that's what I told them. Then there was an article in Journal of Retirement Planning that said, hey, we've taken a look at the numbers, and it looks like people aren't spending that much money, additional money, on healthcare later in life, because a lot of that is covered by insurance. So yes, you can spend more. And now, and I don't mean to get on a soap opera or on a soapbox, but I guess maybe I will a little bit. If you take a look at what is happening to Medicaid, which will have an impact not just on Medicaid recipients, but I think it will reverberate around the entire healthcare system. And frankly, I think that is what the shutdown is about right now. The Democrats want to see more money for healthcare and healthcare insurance. I believe that what is going to happen is our healthcare is going to the cost of healthcare is going to dramatically go up. So now I'm going to go back to what Bill Bengen said 30 years ago, which is I think that you do have to allow for greater medical expenses as we age. So I'm going to try to go back to his original advice of keeping it relatively early because no, I totally get it. You want to do your most exotic traveling that is likely to be your most expensive when you can still physically do it. And by the way, I have a buddy who counsels do a list of all the places you want to travel to in order of physical difficulty and do the harder ones first. Do your I don't know, hike, rugged mountain hiking trip to New Zealand when you are younger because you can still do it and you can still stand the flight, and then do your theater trip to New York later on. But anyway, that is the best I have. And by the way, I would have given you a different answer a year ago. A year ago, I would not have foreseen or what I think is going to be a substantial rise in healthcare costs.
And the next question we have is actually more Social Security focused. Linda asks, with low longevity in your family, why would you pull from your portfolio if you could just use Social Security to live on instead of letting your portfolio grow? That would leave your portfolio to grow after you die. However, Social Security stops when you die. I get 8% yearly increase, but if I die young, my child loses all of that. So this is sort of a question about like, should I, in order to get past short-term spending needs, should I pull more Social Security, or should I try to wait it out and hold off?
All right, I think there's two answers or two reasons why you want to spend money, why you want to spend money from your portfolio before you take Social Security. The first one is a matter of math. All right. So when I did that break-even analysis, that's just math. All right. And it shows, yes, if you die early, your family will be better off. But again, think like an actuary. I mean, think like an economist, not an actuary. What you want to do, to me, reducing your inheritance is not as scary as running out of money. And second, just because the nature of the raises that you get in Social Security beats any investment. There is no investment that you can show me that's guaranteed that will come anywhere near what you will get in benefits for Social Security down the road. And so it just becomes a matter of math. Then the other reason is because you don't want to run out of money. I think what is likely, and it might depend. Now, I have to admit, not every advisor, I'm not trying to advise the world. I'm trying to advise the people who, let's say, find me, if you will. And those people tend to be smarter than average. They tend to have, they tend to be smart, not just about their financial area, but also smart about, let's say, their health care. They don't smoke. They wear seat belts. They do other things that will likely expand their life expectancy. So most of them are not dying young. Now, if you said, "Hey, I'm not married and I have cancer and don't have a long life expectancy," sure, I'm going to say maximize your Social Security, take it early. But for the vast majority, they're going to live longer than the break-even numbers, so their heirs will even get more money. So, and by the way, I've had this discussion with 100 people. It's a matter of math. The best argument that I can come up with, other than a serious reduced life expectancy and not worrying about the spouse, is the whole system's going to fall apart and you're going to get nothing. And I'm not going to say there's zero chance of that. What I will say is I do not believe it is politically feasible. And I think what's going to happen, which is what has happened for decades, is the way they quote balance it is they chip away and they change the times where you're eligible. They change the date where you have full retirement. They increase the earnings level that you have to pay Social Security for. So I think it's going to be those types of changes, not cutting benefits for people who are close to or past 70. Okay, why don't I take one more and then I'm going to move on.
Great. Thanks, Jim. The next question, let's see if we have any specific. Okay, we do have some more specific Social Security questions. So there's some, well, first, William asks, for the lower earning spouse, do you recommend that they take Social Security at the full retirement age to maximize the spousal benefit rather than at age 70? That's pretty simple.
It's actually not so simple because the lower earning spouse, depending on when their spouse Social Security might get a living benefit, and half of the benefit of the higher earning spouse would be higher than their benefit. Uh, on that. So I actually wrote a book on Social Security, and the one area of the book that is outdated is they used to have something called apply and suspend. That was wonderful. All you had to do was apply for Social Security, but then say, don't give me any money. And then you have the lower earning spouse collecting a spousal benefit on the higher earning spouse who wasn't even collecting. And then they said, no, we're not going to allow that anymore. If you want to take a spousal benefit, your spouse has to be collecting. So I'll just tell you, and to make it easy, I just use the simple case where I'm only looking at the spouse with a higher earning record, and I probably don't want to talk about the spouse with the lower earning record because frankly, that's going to be fact dependent, which I don't think is going to help the majority of people listening.
And then we did have a few other questions. I'll just sort of combine into the category of people concerned about Social Security not paying benefits, running out of money, or not paying benefits. And I think that maybe we need to distinguish between those two categories because I think your answers are going to be nuanced based on the groups we're talking about. Some people are just concerned Social Security is running out of money, so they might stop paying. Ray is asking, are you concerned that they're going to reduce benefits to 70% in 2031-ish? And then other people are concerned about it running out, the Social Security trust fund running out of money in general. And I think, now tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that you're going to say there may be two different categories, like people above a certain age, already in certain groups where their benefits are more likely to be locked in versus younger people that maybe are a little bit more open to the vicissitudes of whether Social Security actually continues to stay funded.
Well, I think you answered the question very well. This is what I will say. Back when I had a radio show, people, and goes back maybe 8 years, we had the top Social Security experts in the country, and every single one of them said, don't let that be a criteria for when you take Social Security. That is the elimination or the reduction. And yes, it is going to have a bigger impact on younger people. But for those of us who are closer to 70, I would not take that into account, notwithstanding all the stuff that we are seeing right now and all the, let's say, advisors, by the way, have an incentive for you to take your Social Security early. Advisors have an incentive for you not to make Roth conversions. So when you see somebody saying, oh, don't take get your Social Security and invest it with me, or don't do a Roth IRA conversion, invest all the money with me, and I charge 1% for managing the money. Well, gee, if you charge 1% for managing the money, if you're holding off on Social Security, that means you have to withdraw money from the portfolio, which means the advisor makes less money. I've been telling people to do Roth conversions since 1998, and I've been telling people to make gifts since, well, even well before that, even though it is against my own selfish financial interests, because if I'm managing money and they're either holding off on Social Security, they're making Roth IRA conversions, they're making gifts, they're doing all these things I recommend, I make less money. So I think you have to be a little bit leery of some of the people who say, hey, take Social Security now. And to be fair, I'm sure there's plenty of people who actually genuinely believe that. I do not, and I'm going to go with history, where people have been saying this for years and years and years. And what has happened is Social Security has, for the people who are collecting it and who are about to collect it, I think are going to be just fine. Okay, I think it's time to move on. And the powers to be will hopefully allow me to advance my clicker. All right, so here's another one. And this is going to be controversial. And I bring this up a lot in practice. But there's a big difference between two people, and let's just keep the math easy. They each have $1 million. Their Social Security is identical. Their investments are identical. And one of them is renting, and one of them has $1 million paid up house. Can the person with the $1 million paid up house spend more money than their financial twin who doesn't have any equity in a house? And my answer to that is yes. And I would say the majority of my clients are not even willing to take into consideration, despite my pleas, not as in polite pleas, but pleas in asking or begging, take this into consideration, even if you're not going to do anything about it. So let's talk about two tools that you could potentially use if you have, let's again keep the math simple, if you have a paid up house of $1 million. All right, one tool is known as a reverse mortgage, and another one is a line of credit where you using your house as collateral, often referred to as a HELOC. And the goal is to create optional tax-free cash without selling your investments, more money to spend, increasing the safe withdrawal rate, not as a percentage of your portfolio, but something that isn't in your portfolio that will allow you to safely spend more money than if you didn't have a paid up house. Who are the people who are best suited for that? Well, people who are at least age 62 and have a paid off or maybe a low balance mortgage. All right, so how does a reverse mortgage work? So let's say, for discussion's sake, you have $1 million house and you get a reverse mortgage. And there's a number of flavors, but let's do the most common, where you have a reverse mortgage and you get an income stream from the bank, income tax free, every month for the rest of your life. You don't have to pay the bank a nickel. All right. And by the way, they could give you a line of credit, they could give you a monthly income, which is what I'm referring to, or they could even give you a lump sum, which I'm not encouraging. And it's non-recourse, meaning if you die before you pay the bank off and your house is sold and you're upside down, they can't go into the rest of your estate. And here's how it would work. You get this monthly income for the rest of your life. I'll tell you two examples where I counseled people to take a reverse mortgage and it worked out very well. One was, it was a married couple, and the exact fear that people have happened to the husband. And the fear that people have is, even though statistically it's relatively uncommon, is you have a long period of disability or where you need long-term care or a nursing home or care brought to the house. And this couple chose to have services brought to the house, and it was expensive. And instead of dying in 2 or 3 years, like most people that end up in that condition, it lasted for much longer. So they were going into their portfolio substantially. And they were concerned, well, gee, what happens if he dies? I'm not going to be able to afford to stay in my condominium where I want to stay. And I said, well, why don't we plan on getting a reverse mortgage at the time that you need it? So that alleviated a lot of worry. Then, in fact, the husband did die. So we went and got a reverse mortgage, and the income from the reverse mortgage, it covered all the housing expenses. Now, you do have to pay for your insurance. You do have to pay for your real estate taxes and a certain minimum upkeep of the home, but it paid for that and more. So the widow is going to be able to live and by the way, that monthly payment continues for as long as that widow's alive, as long as she stays in the house as her primary residence. So she's going to be just fine for her whole life. Where without the reverse mortgage, if she would have had to move, which she didn't want to do, or worse, if she had stayed there and the expenses far exceeded what she could afford, there would have been major trouble if we ignored the equity in the home. But instead, her lifestyle was frankly, other than the cost of the care, was very good, and she was able to stay where she wanted. And a similar situation where somebody had this $1 million house, loved the house, didn't want to move from the house, didn't have the income to support the house and their lifestyle. They went and got a reverse mortgage, and with the monthly payment, was able to pay the maintenance on the house and additional money for them to spend, and they're going to be able to stay in the house that they love for the rest of their lives. Is it potentially going to help hurt the children? Well, maybe. On the other hand, that might not be your highest priority. And maybe, depending on the terms and the conditions, maybe the kids will do just as well. So it bothers people, and I get that, but I'll just say that it can work out relatively well in not all that uncommon situation. Here's where I get into the issue that I do have an answer. A lot of times we run the numbers on this, and I will also admit that with the higher interest rates, it's not quite as attractive as it was back when interest rates were 2 or 3% that you could lock in for many years. But even with the higher rates, it still makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. So we're number crunchers. So we run the numbers, and a lot of times it supports the strategy. But a lot of people say, I am not comfortable having a mortgage. We spend 30 years paying off that GD mortgage. It's finally paid off. And now at this age and stage of our lives, I do not want to have a mortgage, even if I don't have to make any payments on it. And frankly, I get it. And if it is something where it passes the math test, but it doesn't pass what I'll call the stomach test, I'd rather you not get it rather than being worried and having anxiety issues over having an unpaid up house. Now, what happens sometimes is people initially are against it, but then when they see the math, all of a sudden their tune changes a little bit. So I'm going to say ultimately, to really make it right, it still has to feel right emotionally, and the numbers have to work also. But That isn't the decision for a financial advisor or CPA or an attorney. That ultimately is up to you. All right. The other thing that is a much easier way to think about this, because it has little or no upfront costs, is a home equity line of credit. And I have a lot of clients that have unused home equity line of credits. Maybe they go into it occasionally, for cash flow needs or for an improvement or whatever it is. I'm a big fan of them. Even if you're not going to do a reverse mortgage, it is very flexible. If you don't take the money out, you don't have to typically, other than the setup fee, you don't have to charge anything. And the payments typically begin after the funds are drawn. A lot of times it's interest only, and then later you pay principal and interest. And here's the other thing. A lot of times I don't care if these things ever get paid off. And if they don't, is it that big a deal? Your estate dies with a home that has a mortgage or a home equity line of credit on it. Ultimately, it's sold. The line of credit or the home equity line of credit or reverse mortgage pays off the bank what is owed, and whatever is left goes to the kids. So a lot of times I'm not worried if these things never get paid off. A lot of people don't want to live that way, and I get it. On the other hand, I see a lot of people having a much better lifestyle because they were willing to consider either a reverse mortgage or a home equity line of credit. And here's the third possibility. You do nothing but know if it ever push came to shove, you could still get some money. And if you knew that, that would allow you to spend more money now. So even if you do nothing, having the knowledge that you can get a reverse mortgage or a home equity line of credit is a very valuable asset. Okay? So, whether it's right for you, most people, if you do nothing and just know, oh, okay, I can now, if I went out to get a reverse mortgage, I could get another, $2,000 or $3,000 a month. Well, I'm not going to do it, but I will take that into consideration on the issue of how much money I can spend, where the person in the identical situation that doesn't have any home equity, he doesn't have that option. Okay? And by the way, it's not cheap. You're talking for a reverse mortgage, it might be $35,000 depending on the amount. With a HELOC, that really is not expensive. So again, does it pass the stomach test? If yes, then consider it in your plan and then potentially integrate it with your cash flow, your withdrawal plan, and your tax plan. And you could do with and without scenarios. And, again, number crunchers have a lot of fun with it. But the most important thing is to recognize this is a way you can spend more money without doing anything, just knowing that you have a backup plan. And finally, if you do, well, no, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. Actually, why don't I take any questions on that issue, and then we will move on. So, are there any questions on home equity or line of credit?
There are no questions that I see that are specifically on that, but people are asking about Social Security still. Yeah, no specific
Okay.
equity, but oh, I was going to say, but we do have, and I apologize that the form may not magically appear quite yet, but I know that Justin will be putting this up. He just stepped away from his computer for a moment, so inopportune timing. But I wanted to announce that so Jim has been talking about the interview that he did with Bill Bengen, but he also collaborated with Bill on an article about safe withdrawal rate that are soon to be publishing on Forbes.
Well,
Yeah, and we also are planning to send copies of this to anyone who completes the form that Justin is going to put a link to in the chat right now. We'll send you a hot off the presses designed copy that has a really nice version of the graph that Jim has been sharing from Bill's book, and a lot more breakdown, detailed information about how he came up with this 0.7%, which amounts to an annual increase of 17.5% in annual spending to his recommended safe withdrawal rate. So it's a great article, and it's a great just like thing to have a physical copy of as well. So if you go, Justin has already put up that form. So if you just go ahead and click that link and complete the form, we will send that to you as soon as we have printed copies of it. So I would expect it probably sometime before Thanksgiving for sure.
all right, and by the way, just to sweeten the pie, we're doing something that I call the Retire Secure Withdrawal Card. And for those of you who are familiar with what we have, a tax reference card. Well, this will be a Retire Secure Safe Withdrawal Card, and it will have that chart, and it will have how to use the chart. It will have some of the things that I'm talking about now, and it's just going to be one page, two-sided, laminated card. Very, very cool thing, and it will be a keeper, and that will be also part of, let's say, what we're going to give away. And because we think it has lasting value, and because I'm a little bit of a fuddy-duddy and I still prefer hard copy to digital, notwithstanding the cost, but the cost is on me anyway, we're going to send you a hard copy of the reprint of the article and the hard copy of this laminated safe withdrawal card, which I would highly encourage people to get. Okay, why don't we move on? And this was one of the questions I didn't get to for Bert Malkiel, but there is a concept called annuitizing. And by the way, for whatever it's worth, my mother retired as a college professor. Back then, they had mandatory retirement at age 70, and she was with TI-CREF. And the rules of TI-CREF at the time were, at retirement, they would not give you the money that was in your account. Instead, they would give you X dollars per month, every month for the rest of your life, kind of like a pension. And at the time, my mom was 70 years old. She didn't have a choice. She had to accept the income offer. And I don't know exactly how long they figured that she was going to live. Maybe they figured that she was going to live for 15 years, which would have put her, quote, break even at age 85. Instead, she lived till age 95. So she got an extra 10 years of income over and above what TIA expected. Now, in the private sector, and by the way, careful of the word annuity, because a lot of times the annuities are these high fee, high cost, high commission investments. And I'm talking about the exact opposite. I'm talking about a low cost, low fee. But there is a product called an immediate annuity and some variations where, in effect, you give the insurance company a chunk of money, and in return, they give you a income for the rest of your life. And we're going to do a few examples, but a lot of times that income is way more than you would get if you did not do that. And typically, if you're married, you do it for 2 lives. You get less money, but you want to. I'm a big believer in protecting both spouses. And then typically, at least the type I recommend stops after you and your spouse are gone. Some people like a 10-year guarantee. To me, I like to keep the income level as high as possible. So obviously names are changed, and I changed the amounts, but I did it pro rata. but we had a client who was age 85, and she annuitized, which for our purposes is the same as buying an immediate annuity. And she got $87,564 per year. Now, if you work that out, she got a 17.5% guaranteed income. Well, not all of its income, but she got much more than she would if she had just kept the money in TIAA, which is, let's say, a better than average bond fund that might have been paying her in the ballpark of 4%. So she significantly increased her income. Now, in her case, she didn't have children. She didn't care what happened to the money after she died. So it made a lot of sense for her to do that. And she was also in good health, will hopefully outlive her life expectancy or the amount of years that TIAA assumed that she would live for when they decided how much money they could pay her. And she will end up being the big winner if she dies early, since she doesn't have kids. Well, maybe a charity or some remote relatives will be worse off, but for her, it was clearly the right thing. And then, kind of the same thing, but for this case, just to give you some idea, this client was 73. So when you do the math, instead of getting a 17%, and it's not really a 17% return on investment because the payment stops at death, but 17% cash flow, at 73, it was 11%. Now, to be fair, this is probably higher than you can get in the open market because TIAA has some bonuses and tends to be a little bit more generous than what you could get if you went to, let's say 3 insurance companies and you said, how much money will you pay me for my $500,000 today? But anyway, it relates to the issue of safe withdrawal rate, because now that person can spend more money without the risk of running out of money. So home equity is one way, tax efficiency is another, Social Security is another, and then, I don't know if annuitizing is right for you. If you have kids and it's very important to leave money to kids, then annuitizing is probably not the right money for you. But I'm going backwards here because the slide was out of place. And that is, we actually have some advice for people who do choose to annuitize. And you might think that this is going to come from, some current financial advisor, or even some financial advisor who was doing this, say, 20 years ago. No, this is actually coming from Voltaire, the great French writer and poet. And Voltaire says, I advise you to go on living solely to enrage those who are paying your annuities, which is one of my favorite quotes. The idea is, if you do this, you want to live and live and live. And the other thing is, who knows today, I'm one of these nuts. I read a little bit about longevity, and I even do some of this stuff. The way I start my morning, and then I do the cold water. I don't do quite a plunge, but anyway, I do some things hoping that I'm going to live longer. And some people think that we're on the dawn of living much longer. And I don't know if I want to count on that, but I'll just say that if you tend to live healthy and you think that you might exceed what might be a normal life expectancy, annuitizing and some of these other strategies I'm talking about are going to be able to have you have a richer retirement than if you didn't. Okay. Well, there probably isn't, so I'll just do a quick check-in. Are there any questions on annuitizing, or should I move on?
I think you should move on. We did, though, have a number of people who really appreciated the Voltaire quote, which is just great. It's always funny to see somebody born on, I think, at the tail end of the 17th century, that annuities are still in play, and then we can use a quote from a famous philosopher.
Usually Erica's pretty good with her European history. I would have guessed later, but I usually defer to Erica. Okay, so next is the current spending order. And you would be amazed at how many people get this wrong. So let's assume for discussion's sake that you have a portfolio that consists, let's say you're getting some income. Maybe you're working, maybe you're getting Social Security, maybe you're getting dividends or interest, but let's call it current income, and that you have to pay income taxes on anyway. Well, that's probably the first type of income that you're going to spend. Then let's assume that you have what I call after-tax dollars. That is money that isn't in an IRA, 401k, 403b, SEP, KEO, etc. And let's say that we're going to basically divide those after-tax dollars into two pots. One is after-tax dollars that has a high basis, meaning that you won't have to pay a lot of capital gain if you sell it. So let's say you bought a stock or a bond and it hasn't gone up much in value, and you've already spent your current income. And let's assume that you're doing what that is making that one woman ill, which is you're going into your portfolio before you're going into your Social Security, and you're spending and you want to spend some after-tax dollars. First, spend the high basis so you're not going to have a capital gain. Then, if you are, and again, I hate to complicate life, but if you have an IRA and you're in a relatively low or middle bracket, well, then you might want to spend the IRA money next. Then maybe after tax low basis where you are going to incur a capital gain. Then IRAs and retirement plans are all going to be taxable. So right now, by the way, this is some variation of pay taxes later, which is our website. And then, and only last, which is the exception to pay taxes later, are you going to spend your Roth IRAs? And I had mentioned earlier when Burton Malkiel was on that in my experience, and it's pretty vast in the Roth IRA area, because not only do we have, I guess we actually have a couple thousand clients, and I've seen a lot of Roth IRA conversions. I've overseen way more. I've been doing talks since 1998 to thousands of consumers and financial advisors and CPAs. And then the group that you have to dumb it down for a little, well, not a little, a lot, is attorneys. Hardly anybody spends very much of their Roth IRAs. So in reality, even though it's often a break even or better for you and you during your lifetime, the way it ends up working is it ends up being great for your heirs. And speaking personally, and if you followed me much, you know that I've been saying this for years, that my wife would eat rice and beans, maybe a minor exaggeration, before she would spend a nickel of her Roth. So when I like to do the Roth, because mathematically it's the best thing for our family, I also know, well, that's going to be for our daughter. And since she has a disability, and unless they change the law, she will be able to stretch that inherited Roth IRA over her lifetime, like you could in the old days before 2020, before the Secure Act. But even if she didn't have a disability, or for maybe hopefully your kids who don't have a disability, they get an extra 10 years before they have to take a nickel out of their Roth IRA. So let's just say each kid inherits $100,000 of a Roth IRA, and then they take advice from us and they have other monies to spend. Then and let's just say it's invested at 7%. 10 years from now they have $200,000. Now they have to take it out of the inherited Roth IRA, but at no income tax. And that would be an example at that time of high basis, because if it was all in stock and they sold it, there would be a zero gain. So the spending order, if you are saving money in taxes, which has to be taken into consideration when you're determining your safe withdrawal rate after taxes. If you can save taxes, which is, our big thing, or one of our big things, then that way you can spend more money. And Burton Malkiel doesn't talk about taxes, and that's fair. And Bill Bengen doesn't either. But we're tax people and we're number crunchers, and we can sometimes make a profound difference. So we don't tell people, hey, use us because we're going to beat the market by 2 or 3%, because we're not, or the money managers that we work with aren't. But we can often add way more value than our fee because we're getting all these other things right and optimized. So why don't I take any more questions, and then we will do a case study.
I think we should probably save any remaining questions for the next session because we only have 15 minutes left and you are still finishing spending order, if that's all right with you.
Okay. At least somebody has some discipline around here. All right. So let's do a quick case study of some of our recommendations. And I'm not going to compare a moron versus the optimal, because frankly, and by the way, we're not looking to, it's not like you have to pass an IQ test. I'm almost always happier working with brighter people than not brighter people. And part of it is they appreciate what we are doing. Part of it is we have a better longevity with clients that understand what we're doing. And I'll be honest with you, it's more fun. A lot of times we have spouses with different degrees of financial sophistication, and a lot of times the person who has more sophistication, more financial sophistication, A, understands what we're doing, B, they develop a trust in us, and C, they think, oh, if something happens to me, I've already vetted the person that will look after my spouse after I'm gone. So anyway, I'm not going to compare doing something really stupid versus the optimal. I'll say doing something that's relatively okay versus optimal. And I'm not going to go through all these assumptions, but just as an example, we're going to we're going to have a situation where people aren't taking Social Security at 62, which is really bad. They're going to both wait until 67. So that's not where I want them to be, but I'm not comparing the best versus the worst. I'm comparing what I would call the best versus maybe the most common, and what isn't totally unreasonable. And we each have people contributing the maximum into their retirement plan. So again, I'm not comparing somebody that says, oh, I don't want to put anything in my retirement plan. They're both putting in the maximum. And let's say the first folks are doing it with a traditional retirement plan, and they're not doing any more Roth conversions. And we say, hey, why don't you wait until age 70 to take your Social Security? Hey, instead of doing a traditional contribution to your retirement plan, why don't you do a Roth 401k? Hey, why don't you do 3 years of backdoor Roth IRA conversions, which we'll wait for the final session. Then we're going to optimize after really a pretty extensive what we call number run session. And in this case, some years were 50,000, some years were 100,000, some years were 200,000. So we optimized the Roth. And then we said, how would that work out for both the client and the client's child? And we put that on a chart. And if the life expectancy or the investment horizon is not only your life and your spouse's life, but also your child's life, given some reasonable assumptions that if anybody's interested, we have all those for you, there's a $3.7 million difference in today's dollars. So some of these tax tweaks, if you will, might not seem all that dramatic, but over a long period of time, they are enormously dramatic. So you might say, okay, Jim, I've heard, some of you have heard Burton Malkiel, and you heard a little bit about index investing, or what we like is enhanced index investing. We are not looking for people who are looking for active money management. Um, and you see, oh boy, there's all kinds of money that can be saved in terms of taxes. And boy, getting the safe withdrawal rate right, I didn't think I could spend anywhere near that. Well, yeah, you could go figure out on your own. And very frankly, we have a lot of very good, what we would call business friends, with some engineers who would rather have a root canal than pay any advisor even $1. But and if you do that and you're that type, and I've given you some great information, I'm genuinely happy. And I mean that sincerely. But you might consider putting me and our team, and we have superstar CPAs, which I'm not going to have the time to get into. You can put us to work for you. And the way you would start that is by requesting a consultation. At this stage, I don't know if this will always be the case. As I get busier and busier, I'm still involved in every single consultation. And very frankly, I take them very seriously. We ask for a lot of information. We ask you to fill out a financial summary. We ask for a copy of your will, and guess what? And your trust, and your beneficiary designation. Guess what? I actually read it myself. And by the way, hardly any of them I'm happy with. And I often start with, this is why your current estate plan is so screwed up. And a lot of times people get as much value from that consultation as maybe the next couple of years of work. But I can't help myself. We don't have an estate planning law firm anymore. I did sell that to the person who worked for me for 30 years, who's doing a great job. But I'm still an estate attorney. I still know how to read a will, and I don't do it in the form as an attorney, but I do it as in the form of, let's say, an advisor. Say, hey, here are some things that you might want to look at or change. We ask for a tax return, and then the CPAs, that's really where the CPAs start salivating, and they get all kinds of information. They can read a tax return the way somebody else reads a novel. They just get so much, and investment statements. And we go through that stuff. And again, wills and trusts and IRA beneficiary designations and your tax return. And we think, can we make a transformative change for you and your family? If all I can do is just a small tweak or a small change, it's going to be hard for me to justify our fee, which is competitive anyway. But that's not really our ideal client. Our ideal client is somebody that has opportunities to save so much more money than our fee that it becomes an easy no-brainer to work together, because we save way more in our, let's say, taxes. We often increase people's safe withdrawal rate, the information for that, the estate plan, and we want to provide much greater value than what we're going to charge, which I actually think is, again, the best deal in the financial industry that I know of. We're not looking for small adjustments. We're looking to see, and we're obviously looking for a good fit. And if we think that you are a good fit, at least right now, I can't promise this as time changes and schedules change. The free consultation is with me and one of the number crunching CPAs. So you're going to get a lot of value from that, whether you do business with us or not. And I'm not even going to have the consultation unless I think I can save you a lot more money than our fees. So what you don't have to worry about is, I'm going to say, yes, we can work together. We work together, we charge a fee, and you don't get the value. That's just not going to happen. During our meeting, I ask a lot of questions. I attempt to speak 1/3 of the time and listen 2/3. I probably fail most of the time at that, but I'm not just going to spend the whole time talking at you. I actually answer your questions. And right now I'm dictating a long memo. We're looking at AI. We're very concerned about confidentiality, but we might have a solution that summarizes the meeting. But at least right now, I'm dictating a long memo. That's what I've been doing for years, and clients find that extraordinarily helpful, both in the short term and the long term. And it goes again to the estate attorney, the number crunching CPA, and that dictation alone can be transformative. If we can help, and depending on schedule, et cetera, we'll do a lot, and we'll set up this consultation, which can hopefully lead to potentially the best asset under management that I know in the industry. So if we both like each other and we both want to do business, the next step is you meet with the money manager. And we have a variety, but they're all data driven. The people we are referring to have low cost index, well, technically enhanced index funds, but basically the same type of funds that Burton Malkiel was talking about. If you listen to the first part, they use the best academic information, excellent service. They not only do asset allocation, but we just touched on it with Burton Malkiel, because it's a big thing, is they do asset location, meaning your Roth IRA that has a much longer investment horizon is going to be invested much differently than the amount that is going to be coming out and spent. So that alone can make, I don't know if that alone can justify the fee, but that's just one feature that really does save a lot of money in taxes. And if you meet with us and you meet with the money manager and you're happy, then we move ahead. But one of the things that is so unique, and let's say that you never heard of me and you were interested in having money management and you wanted all those features that I have mentioned, and you found, let's just even say you found the exact money manager that we would refer you to. Well, again, they do a great job, data-driven, wonderful service, blah, 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 blah. And the fee might be 1% on the first million, and then it goes down for the second million, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what happens if you do it, but through us? Well, it's the same fee, but you get the benefit of us. We do a lot of work up front, all right? And we sometimes are charging $20,000, $25,000 to do that work. Very frankly, we have a waiting list to do a fee for service type work, but the CPAs don't like it as much because they like a relationship basis, and so do I, meaning that we get to know people, we can provide more value for the long term, and you not only get this huge chunk of work up front by really smart CPAs, but then we have annual reviews, and you're doing this all for the cost of, let's call it a normal fee of 1% on the first million, and then less as the investment goes up. So I'll look you right in the digital eye and tell you, I do not know a better assets under management arrangement anywhere in the country. And I've seen a lot of different arrangements, and I don't think anything can touch our offer if you have a situation where we can save you some money in taxes, estate planning, and something other than just pure money management. And we do have a waiting list for the people who are just interested in, let's call it fee for service. We do have a minimum of 1.5 million, because if you think about it, we're making less than our normal rate. The money manager's making less than theirs, but so we can't do it anymore for people with $1 million, but we can make just enough money to pay for it if it's 1.5 million. And the good news is it tends to work. So we make money in the long run when you stay with us, not 1 or 2 or 4 years, but 7, 10, or even more years. And it does include this big chunk of work up front, Roth conversions, et cetera. At least sometimes multiple reviews with them during the year with the money manager, and then one review with ours. And we're spending like 6 hours. We're looking at ways to cut that, but right now we're spending like 6 hours in review, a couple hours to do the review before you come in, 2 hour meeting, and then 2 hours to do the report and analysis afterwards. So you're getting a huge amount of value. And I actually think it's life-changing for both you and your spouse and your family, which in effect is giving you permission to spend more money. And by the way, my own personal money, my wife's personal money, it's invested just the way we are recommending to you. It's not like, I have some secret investment. We are fiduciaries, meaning we act in the best interest of our clients. And if you think you are a good candidate to work with us, I would encourage you to click on the link. Justin, if you could put up that link in the chat box, and then Justin will call you to schedule. We'll find the time to meet. We will probably be meeting on Zoom, unless we meet really fast, which probably isn't going to happen. So it will probably be a Zoom meeting. And again, it will be with me, one of the number crunching CPAs, and you and your spouse. And by the way, unless your spouse is non-compos mentis, we want to talk with both of you. Okay. That is what I have. I will tell you, I've done thousands of these consultations over the years. No one has ever said or implied it wasn't worth their time. I'm not allowed to guarantee results, but I do guarantee that I and the people you work with genuinely care about you. We have a great team. We work hard on your behalf. We always put your interests ahead of our own. And to take action now, well, let's call it the virtual desk. Fill out the form, which hopefully I have a different screen than you. Justin has put something where you can just click and give him your contact information, and he will call you hopefully even this week. Result, hopefully happier, less stressful, and more abundant lifestyle.